Welcome back to Rooted in the Middle, where I talk about real life, real work, and real faith. My name is Becca, and today I am talking about how I'm being more intentional with our home. Just to kick us off with a Bible verse, and what I've really kind of been trying to focus my heart on is Colossians 3:23 and 24. It reads, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving." You know, that verse, it's just instructing people to work at whatever they do with their whole heart, not just your job. And, you know, growing up, I always heard that and attributed it to your job, what you're doing at work. So in the last several years, I've tried applying it only to work, and that's not, I think, been the way to approach it. Here lately, one thing that's been big on my heart is just being more intentional. Over the last few years, the word intentional has been like my word of the year every year. And it's been in ministry, it's been at work, it's been with my kids, with my home. But this year especially, in regards to our home, I'm trying to be more intentional. So I just kind of wanted to share a few of the ways. Some are practical, some are about myself. You know, all the ways that this scripture has kind of worked its way into my life this year, I wanted to share with you. So there's several areas in my life that I'm wanting to be more intentional with and, be a better steward of. And one of those is like meals and planning, prepping, not like end of the world doomsday prepping, but like preparing things, trying to be less wasteful. I want to, I've always meal planned, but I'm trying to be more intentional so that I'm actually prepared, setting aside 5 minutes at the beginning of the day or the night before to think, okay, what am I going to need tomorrow? And it has to be intentional, otherwise I won't do it. And, if you're, I've been the mom where you've got sports until 10 or you're at the field until 9 and dinner is either at 4 or at 11 and you just figure it out as you go. And I get that. I'm not, trying to discredit anybody who is in that season. But the season we're in now, and it does help that my kids that are in sports, Cora's in sports, but her sports are they're not time consuming. She's in a lot of rec type of, as far as competitive level goes, programs. Jackson plays high school sports, and that now that he can drive, it really is helpful for me to have just a few more minutes every day to plan, to think. We still have to get to games and meets and stuff, but prepping now for me in the season that I'm in has become a little bit more feasible. When I was in the thick of all the busiest times, it was not always feasible. So if you're in the busy time, don't take what I'm saying and compare to your situation. Give yourself some grace for where you are. But again, I'm just sharing where I'm at. One thing I'm also trying to do is be more mindful of what we're eating. I'm not going to be one of those ones that stops going to the grocery store. I love the idea of being self-sustainable, but let's be real. I kill almost every plant that I have. So that's why I have hostas. I have a few plants, like you see, I've got a lily back there we got that basically the day that we broke ground here. We call it one of our funeral lilies. When Matt's dad passed away, our church sent him a funeral lily, and I've managed to keep that one alive. Thank goodness. We actually have two because his office from work had also sent one, but I'm getting a little better. But anyway, as far as, trying to be mindful of what we eat, you'll see on a lot of my other videos that are under the Harmony Homestead era of this channel, there's a lot of things like I'll make jellies or I'll make sauces. Is it necessarily cheaper than what I can get at the store? No. When I do it in bulk, it is. Is it better for you? Not necessarily, but I know exactly what's going in it. So when I'm making jelly, I know the pectin, the juice, and the amount of sugar. I know in my recipes for like marinara, there's no sugar and it's all, just the tomatoes and the spices. So there's, just more recently, I have gotten on this big, not homesteading kick, because I'm not I tried the idea of a homesteader, especially when we had chickens and that sort of thing. And we were, still settling into the house, getting our rhythm. But for example, I'm really interested in getting like a flour mill to mill my own flour and like maybe start baking my own breads and that sort of thing. Right now I'm in that early phase of it where it's kind of like a romantic idea of something I would love to do and, adjust who I am in that regard. But, I'm trying to be more intentional, and we're taking slow steps to that. And, kind of touching on the food stuff that's not food, but related is like, I've been very mindful of like our dishes that we're using. I'm trying to eliminate how much plastic I'm cooking with and get more to the glass and the wood utensils and dishes. And again, this may not be your cup of tea, and that is completely okay. I'm just telling you where I'm at. So that's one aspect of life that I'm trying to be more intentional with our home. Another aspect, which is one that I think almost everybody can relate to, even if it's just to a little degree, or maybe it's to a significant degree, is the amount of stuff that we have. Matthew 6:19 through 21, I'll put the verse up here, warns us against storing up earthly treasures and noting that your heart stays where your treasure is. On both sides of our family, we have family members who have had a tendency to hoard. So I'm very cautious about when I think about why I'm keeping something. Why am I keeping this? Am I keeping it because I know I'll use it? Is there true sentimental value in this? And when I don't consider myself a super sentimental person. When something is sentimental to me, and again, this is going to be different for everybody because everybody's relationships are different. Sentimental to me is something that can be like an heirloom, so passed down. I've got some of my grandma's dishes, like a few of her old, and we're talking little tiny Pyrex bowls. I have one of her carnival glass punch bowl sets that I was able to get, and I have like this table that's right here. You may not be able to see it. It was my papa's, who I'm named after. And he gave that to me actually while he was still with us. And sentimental to me is not knick-knack items. If somebody was a collector of something, for example, Matt's grandma she collected bells and anything related to frogs. That was his grandpa too. And so we have, each of the kids have a bell. We have a few frog things that were theirs, and we have a space for them. But I don't get sentimental over things just because someone owned it. There has to be a purpose for it, or there has to be a story with it, not just stuff that belonged to somebody else. Because I feel like that's how it's easy to get into that hoarding mentality. And especially, I don't want to pass along what I feel is sentimental to anybody else. If something is sentimental, it's sentimental because it is to you. I don't want to put that on my kids and say, well, this was special to me, so it has to be special to you. There are things that I get that are not hand-me-downs that I still in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is classic looking, or it's a timeless piece. And, one of my kids might want this, but I always have to remember they may not want my things, and that's okay, because our treasures aren't bound to items. Our memories aren't bound to the things. Sometimes a thing might spark a memory, but like pictures are sentimental to me. I don't need 5 copies of each one, or 5 variations of the same event kind of thing. But I've been trying to start to not a full-on home purge, but just really look through things. Like, so I've started with my clothes. I've gone through my closet and pulled things out and thought, okay, I've passed this up in my closet for 2 years. I never select it, but I don't ever want to get rid of it, and why. So I've started pulling those things out and boxing them up and donating them or selling them online. That's been one way I've been trying to be more intentional with, the amount of things that we have. The easiest junk collecting room, I feel like, though, is the kitchen. It is so easy to have utensils pile up. Somehow you've got 3 can openers. You've got 4 different bottles of Italian seasoning, and one might be 3 years old because it got shoved in the back of the cupboard and you forgot about it. Dishes, I mean, we don't have 3 cups that are identical. Like, we just have this plethora of cups and mugs. In the fridge, we've got leftovers upon leftovers that we have good intentions of using, and then we don't. And then just gadgets. Like, I used to have a ton of gadgets. I've gotten rid of these long ago because, one, we didn't have the space for them, but like, you've got the Fry Daddy, you've got the electric skillet, you've got the griddle, you've got a panini press, you've got a waffle maker, you've got all these different things. Like, the consumerism of the world is telling you need all these different things to make your life easier. And really, you just don't. And at some point, when I start to feel overwhelmed, a lot of times it's because things aren't put away or there's not a spot for places, and the clutter weighs on me. So getting rid of some of those things a long time ago really helped. Another thing that kind of piles up unexpectedly is like toiletries. So you go through I go through my sink, under my sink, about once a year, and I can throw away about 1.5 to 2 full Walmart bags full of travel shampoos, or, just any beauty thing that I looked at or got as a gift that I'm never going to use. And, I'm lucky if I wash my face at night. I know, like, I'm not someone who always washes her face at night. I should. I get it. I know. I don't, but I've got like 8 different makeup remover cloths, and I'm like, why? Why do I need those? I just don't. So anyway, yeah, the amount of stuff that we have now, if I were to turn the camera, you would see I've got like probably 80 books, and I love books. I think this is hereditary. My grandma loved books. We always joked that she'd make us check out books if we wanted to borrow one. I'm not quite that bad, but I do, if a book was good, I want to keep it, because, again, this is something that I'm working on, trying to be more intentional with. Why do I need a library? No. Am I ever going to read it again? Maybe. But books, I do have a thing for books. That would be my thing. But I would never want my kids to be like, well, these were Mom's books and she liked them so much, we should probably keep them. I don't want that. If something happens to me and the kids are toiling about books, tell them she doesn't care about the books. So anyway, yeah, just think about all the stuff that you've got that doesn't actually serve a purpose. I'm not saying you have to go full on minimalistic with things, but it's worth it just to take note of how much you have of different things. So there's that. Another way that we're trying to be more intentional is with the property that we have. We're trying to simplify. Like, we had a pool, and then we had the fire pit with the gravel ring around it, and that was a bear to maintain. And we never had finished like landscaping around the back of the house, and the back of the house is where we live. Like, that's where we do things. I've been trying to simplify what we don't need that only causes work that makes us grumble. So like around our fire pit, we had this gorgeous fire pit. Maybe I'll see if I can find a picture of it. That had a beautiful ring around it with pea gravel. And after the first year, every spring and every fall, I was spending 3 days just pulling the weeds out of it. So finally, this last year, we took out all of the pea gravel. We left the fire ring, because it's perfectly functional. It's awesome. We will still use it. It's in the perfect spot, and it's not an eyesore. So we got rid of that, and now it's all grass, and it's beautiful. We had a pool. We took it out because we were starting to slow down on how much we were using it. Took that out. And we did finally, like I said, we finally landscaped around the back of the house. Finishing projects is something that's big for us. We tend to start projects and we get almost to that finish line with a few finishing touches, and then life gets busy. So trying to make sure that we've tied all of our knots and crossed all of our T's and dotted all of our I's with everything that's around the house this year. And we've done a pretty good job. Got rid of some stuff that's been piling up, and that's been helpful. Trying to reuse things that we already have. So like we pulled up stones, the stones, like we had actual landscaping stones around the pea gravel, pulled those up. I think we're going to try to sell those. But we've kind of held on to them thinking, okay, is there any way that we can repurpose this? Is there anything coming up or anything that we want to do at all that we could use these for? So we're trying to be mindful about when we're doing things. We're trying to get back to gardening a little bit. So we have some raised beds, and we're trying some beans and peppers and melons this year. So we'll see how that goes. So far, so good. But again, that's with more of the food stuff of we're wanting to, again, not be full on preppers and not be full on self-sustainable, although that would be magnificent. But just an attempt to try our hand again at, okay, how much could we do for ourselves? How much could we get done and have on our table that's like, okay, we have this because we planted it and we sowed it. So that's one thing we're doing. So the grounds, just taking care of our grounds and our property is something we're trying to be more intentional with. Another thing I'm trying to be intentional with, and this one, it might sound funny, but I'm trying to be intentional with how I feel. And a lot of times people think that you can't control your feelings. Sometimes you can't control your feelings, but you can kind of control your reaction and how you handle your feelings. So that's probably more so what I'm referring to. But it's easy to focus on the stuff in our home, how we have it decorated, the things we have that other people will see, rather than focusing on how people feel when they come into our home. It's biblical. The Lord wants us to be good hosts, wants us to welcome people into our home. Is my home in a position where it's ready? And I'm not meaning perfectly spick and span. I'm not talking about is all the clutter picked up. I'm talking about, is your home in a position to be able to welcome someone who needs ministered to on a personal level? Are your doors open to people who need it? Are you truly using your home as a place to build others up? Because yes, our home is our sanctuary. It's our private place. It's the place where we restore ourselves. It's our place of solace and protection. But that's not the only reason the Lord gives us and blesses us with our own space. We also are called to use our homes as a way to serve others. If others are in need, if someone's hungry, here, you know what, come over, I've got some food for you. Come pick it up, or come over and eat with us. Kind of a thing. Or, oh, you need to sit with some people for a little bit. You just need loved on a little bit. Come over. We've got you. We will sit with you. Because I can tell you, the people who need ministered to, they aren't going to care if you've got a pile of toys on the floor. They're not going to care if you've got a few dishes in your sink. They're really not going to care, because if they need ministered to, that's what they need. They need their heart ministered to. How we want our house, our home to feel has been very important to us. And part of, for me, again, I'll speak only for myself, not as an instructional or a requirement thought for everybody else. For me to feel like my home's in a position to minister to somebody else is that I've been a good steward of everything in our pantry. I've been a good steward of everything in our freezer. I've been a good steward over everything else in the home. That if someone came in and said, "Hey, we need a meal, or can we just come over and sit with you guys?" I'm prepared and can minister to them and feed their soul with love and prayer, but also feed them. There's something about hosting somebody that is biblical and shows them love, and that's necessary. So a lot of what I'm talking about is in, not only for yourself, but it's preparing your home for this kind of thing also prepares you for it, because you're doing it with an intentional mindset of there's a reason behind all this. And it's more than just be proud of what I've got. I'm trying to be, in addition to that, I'm trying to be more intentional with myself, with the thoughts that I have, the actions that I take, how I spend my time, what I do with my work, how I'm doing all of that, and making sure that I'm being dedicated and a good employee while I'm at home. One thing that God really worked on me with over the last probably 6 months is I called my home a blessing. And I realized God kind of put me in check, and it was about I needed to stop calling anything or grumbling about anything that I call a blessing. Don't call your home a blessing and then grumble that you have to maintain it. And that includes cleaning, that includes cooking, it includes the upkeep of a home, the repairs, the everything. God blessed us, especially, I think about how blessed we were that we were able to build on our family land, and how we were in a position to be able to afford it, to have the resources to do it. But I found myself grumbling all the time about there's constantly something to do. And yeah, having a bunch of people in the house, there's always something to do. And of course you get bitter, like especially as a mom, no knock to the guys, but it's like, why is everything on my plate? I know I talked about being overwhelmed before, but like all this stuff. And yeah, it should be a shared effort, but why do I have such a disdain for the work that's required to maintain the blessing that I have? Luke 16:10 states that whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And how many times have I thought, oh, we've got this house, but I wish I could just get like brand new furniture and then find something to not be pleased about. And how I've, again, grumbled about the stuff that it takes to maintain a house on a daily basis, and that I've always done. You've always cooked and cleaned. You've always maintained and done this. But we allow ourselves to get so caught up in the me portion of it that we forget this is a blessing, and maintaining it and having the ability to oversee it, God's trusted us with it, is a blessing. And I needed to be more intentional with my mindset about my home. And that has really shifted a lot this year. So the biggest change, as I'm starting, I want to kind of wrap this up. I don't want to take too much of your time. The biggest change I've noticed by trying to be more intentional with our home it's that my heart and my mind have slowed down. I feel an overwhelming sense of peace now that I'm being more intentional with everything in our house. Now that I'm paying attention to more things and how I'm handling everything in our home, I feel so much better when I change the way I think about things. And God's honoring, being intentional with our home by giving me peace, a sense of peace. Matt and I are being more intentional, just like Joshua in the Bible, we're declaring, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And over the last year, we're about at a year mark that Matt and I have really been praying about what God wants for the future for our family, and what does that look like, and what, just trying to really own our relationship with the Lord for our family, really trying to put the focus for our household back to the Lord. Not on the staying busy with everything. It's more than just church on Sunday and making sure our kids are at church on Sunday, and more than bedtime prayers. It's in how we live every single day. And a lot of that has for us been to do with how are we approaching life in general? What are we being intentional? Are we handling things as they come to us, or are we planning things so that we can take care of what needs to be done and be mindful of things? you want to be active and not reactive kind of a mindset. There's a wave right now. You can see it all over social media. People are trying to be more intentional, which is great. Self-sustaining in their meals in their homes, trying to get back to the heart of raising a family with the Lord. Some would probably call it a trend. I think it's more than a trend. I think that honestly, in our country, there are just so many families who are tired of being tired. I think that the garbage that we've been fed, both literally, like through fast food and restaurants and chain grocery stores and everything, but also figuratively about, convenience. Everything has been fed to us as something we need in the name of convenience. We're finding value now in doing things ourselves, in learning skills that are important, that have kind of gone by the wayside out of convenience. And listen, there are some things out of convenience that I will not give up. My grocery shopping now, I love that I can do a click list or an online grocery pickup and not have to go walk through the store. I love it. I love it. That's a convenience, and I love it. I love it. I'm not getting rid of my microwave anytime soon. Is it the best for food prep? Probably not. I'm sure some scientists would say no. So I'm not speaking against having things out of convenience. I'm not going to start making every single thing from scratch. I'm not going to stop buying certain things. But just, there's that mindset that people are starting to take awareness and have awareness about what they're doing, how they're living their life, slowing down, especially slowing down. And it's just, you know what, we need to get back to the basics a little bit. And that's kind of where I've been at. I've been purging and, praying and planning for our family in hopes of making our home a place of calm, a place of peace, and where we have intentional moments with one another, whether they're, it doesn't always have to be a Bible study or anything like that, just where we spend quality time together intentionally. I'm not talking about kumbaya and it's family game night and every single day and all that, but we are trying to be more intentional with our interactions with our kids and trying to make sure that our home feels like a place of peace, so that when they go out into the world, they know, okay, right now we're an anchor. They're here. They know every day they end up right back here at home. When they go out in the world, we want to remain a lighthouse, the place where they know, okay, there's home. That's where I know there's peace. That's where I know there's steady. Even if they're married and, they all need to come and be like, we just need to get grounded a little bit. We want our home to be that place for them. We want it to be a place where their friends feel comfortable, and I hope they are. They have friends over often. It's been very important to us to be intentional with our home and how we're doing anything. We want everything we do to glorify the Lord. That's been our goal. And the last year especially has opened our eyes to how much we were relying on ourselves and not the Lord. And so we're trying to make mindful decisions and mindful moves to really get back to basics, get back to what's important, what matters, get rid of the fluff, and just, pull the focus back to where it's supposed to be. And that's not in being busy all the time. It's not in, just flying by the seat of your pants. So I would encourage you to take a look around your home, identify the fluff in your life maybe, and, think about ways that you can be more intentional. Take it slow, make your changes slowly. Don't freak your family out and start going through their closets and pulling out everything that they have because you feel like it's too much. Don't start doing that. You're going to create a war, and then you're going to come to me and be like, Becca, your advice is terrible. So I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you take it slow. Start with your own things. Start in the kitchen. Start, just wherever. I'm not trying to put you back in the kitchen, but make changes that work for your family. Keep your family in mind. Think about things that will work for your family. And don't stress if certain things that other people are doing won't work for your family. It's your family. I can't stress enough how much you have to worry about your family and not worry about what other people are doing. You will lose your joy if you do that. You just will. So that's it for this week. Next week, there's going to be a little bit of a throwback. I'm going to be on vacation. We've got someone house sitting for us, so that's perfect. You know, our house won't have to be empty or anything. Everything will stay maintained. My plants won't die. But what I actually recorded, I went on a mission trip in the fall, and the way it went, it was how it was supposed to go. But it left me with questions for the Lord. And it's kind of a testimony. I'm going to share that. I recorded it a few months ago and for a rainy day. And I'm using this as my rainy day. So you're going to hear about the mission trip that I went on in the fall with my mom and my sister-in-law. And it was an interesting trip, to say the least. And, you know, it's one of those times where you think you're doing everything right, but then something else happens and it's like, why? What was the point of all this? So that's just a little inkling into what you're going to get next week. And then I'll be back at it here in real time the following week. So everybody take care. I want you to, again, just take your time going through your stuff and just pray. Take all of this to the Lord and pray and ask Him to guide you and point out, make it obvious things that you could be doing that's more intentional. So I will see you next time on Rooted in the Middle.